All right. Well, good
All right.
morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Erica, did you want to kick us off, or do you want me to go ahead and start?
I'm ready. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July 17th meeting of the Women in Product Toastmasters Club. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Erica Tamburo. Today, our theme is ethical product management, and I know there are really some fascinating facets of ethics and product management that I hope we'll get to discuss today. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to our president, Ms. Rosie Hernandez.
Thank you, Erica. So before we get started, I have a couple of announcements. Our club has reached the President's Distinguished status. So congratulations to us. And then the other thing I wanted to call out was the annual business meeting. So Tiffany should be sending out a survey for us to have completed by July 27th. But what the survey entails is us wanting to hear, or the leadership team wanting to hear back feedback in terms of where we stand on the various like international level candidates and motions. If we can have this completed by the 27th of July, it'll help Tiffany then aggregate all that feedback and then figure out how we're going to vote on upcoming different stances. So yes, and then I think that's everything on there. But yeah, and then we will have a Q&A following today's meeting. So if you want to stay on for a couple of minutes, ask any questions if you're a guest or any of the current members want to stay on and give their perspectives, would love to have you all there. And then lastly, I wanted to ask any of the guests if they'd like to introduce themselves, how they heard about Toastmasters or this club. Let me see if I can find any guests. Irene, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Irene Hill. I'm a product owner for Walmart Global Tech. I own Walmart's enterprise search products. I learned about this Toastmasters group through the Women in Product Conference, which was amazing, and I got so much out of that. And I'm also a member of another Toastmasters group at Walmart. It's called Empowering Walmart Leaders, and I am this year the president. I just got elected president of that group, so a little overwhelmed, but excited too. So thank you for having me as a guest today.
Congratulations on that new role. All right, I think those are all the guests. If you are a guest, can you add guest in front of your name? That way it's just easier to identify you all. Is anyone else a guest? I think we just have one, right? Perfect. Awesome. Great. In that case, I'll pass the mic back to Marguerite, who is the Toastmaster of the day.
Actually, I think we have.
It's Jen.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I'm Jen Ginsburg. I'm the Toastmaster of the day here, and I'm so excited to have our meeting today with our theme being ethical product management. You know, when we think about product management across different product categories or in software, there is always an element of ethics that come into play with that, whether it be in the realm of data analytics, accessibility to our products themselves, and how do we manage our data on a day-to-day basis. So I'm super excited to have our meeting today. I would like to go ahead and introduce our meeting roles today. We have, as part of Toastmasters, our meeting team. I'll start with our general evaluator, Marguerite. Marguerite, if you could do a quick introduction of yourself and maybe introduce some of your team.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Marguerite, and I will be general evaluator today. So I will be just evaluating the meeting overall, sort of making sure we check all the boxes in terms of, you know, the flow of the meeting and the timing and getting everything started on time and ending on time, things like that. And On my team are Rishu and Monique, who will be evaluating our 2 speeches today.
All right, and next we have Kashmira, who's our awe counter. Kashmira, do you want to do a quick introduction of yourself and your role?
Sure. Dear Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, the purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Yeah, thank you, Kashmira. And then Lori for timer.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today I will be our timer. So for our regular speeches, I will be timing them for 5 to 7 minutes. Icebreakers will be 4 to 6. And then we'll also do a question and evaluation round after that. So that'll be 2.5 minutes. And then we'll go into our evaluation section as well, which I will also be timing for 2.5 to 3 minutes. And then our table topic section will be 1 to 2 minutes. So you will see the time on my backgrounds. And let me show you those really quickly. So at the green marker, so on table topics at the 1 minute marker, I'll show the green background. At the 1.5, I'll show the yellow, and then the red at 2 when we are out of time. So that is how you can keep track of your time. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. And then we have Rosie Hernandez, who is our president and also doubling as our table topics master.
Yeah, so today I'll be covering the table topics. What this means is that this is a great opportunity for us to practice our impromptu speaking. I'll be asking questions to both our members and our guests. If you don't want to be called on, just send me a message and I'll make sure not to call on you, but you'll be given about a minute to respond to the question. And it's really meant for us to practice some of those impromptu speakings. We'll know the question right before you answer it. Awesome.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. And then as part of table topics, we also have a vote counter who's going to be fulfilled by Sarisha. And Sarisha, since you're also our vote counter, and thank you for also volunteering to be our filling grammarian for the day, why don't you go ahead and talk about both of your roles?
Yeah, thank you, Jen, my Toastmaster for today. So as a grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to what everyone is speaking. I'll be looking at the language usage. I'll also make a note on if there are any improper languages. And most importantly, I'm going to really pay attention to the outstanding words and quotes that everyone here is to say. And as a grammarian, it's my duty also to introduce a word of the day. So the only thing I can remember is, comes to my mind is responsible. So as an ethical product management, I feel like, it's part of our responsibility to ensure that, our products we create or launch are in that nature, right? So word of the day is responsible. As a vote counter, so you all know, like, we may have a big table topics today. So I will be requesting your votes for the best speaker of the day. And please put that in that Zoom chat and I'll make a note. So that's it. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarisha. And now, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, our first prepared speaker of the day. Her name is Tiffany Chang. She's the secretary of our club and the first PM in training at a B2B supply chain startup. She recently passed a law and ethics exam as part of her journey to become a licensed professional engineer in her jurisdiction. So she is also on the hunt for her next phone, and as a Samsung S6 from a 2015 is approaching retirement age, it is open to any mid-range recommendations. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tiffany Chang to our stage. Her speech title is Reframing Product Management, Making Ethic-Informed Decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and welcome fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. When was the last time you asked yourself, how do we know we're doing our best to enact positive change in the world for future generations with the product we create? Earlier this month, I passed the Law and Ethics exam as part of my journey to become a licensed professional engineer. Learning about ethics in the context of the engineering profession really motivated me to look into how I can apply moral principles in my everyday PM work. This is when I discovered Radical Product Thinking by Radhika Dutt, an inspiring book about the conscious intentionality required in the product development lifecycle. Therefore, I'd like to share the Radical Product Thinking framework with you so that you may go about making ethics-informed decisions a standard part of your unique product development journey. Before diving into the framework, let's go through why valuing ethics is integral in product management. There are 4 lenses through which we can principally justify the value of incorporating ethics in the work we do. First, each of us is responsible for protecting the welfare and safety of our individual users and customers. The product I work on is an essential part of our customers' day-to-day supply chain operations to ensure they can fulfill orders, send out shipments, and invoice their buyers with accurate and compliant information in a timely manner. Second, each organization has a conscious choice to be purpose-driven and give employees a greater sense of fulfillment and purpose in their professional careers. Patagonia is a poster child for demonstrating the possibility to be both purpose-driven and profitable. On Black Friday of 2016, Patagonia donated all sales across all their distribution channels in the entire world to grassroots environmental organizations. Now that's practicing what you preach and a true testament to corporate responsibility. Third, there's social impact, as all domains of expertise touch the lives of so many populations, organizations, and industries. Recently, my dad upgraded his blood glucose measurement device. As I scanned through the user manual, I was blown away at the amount of feature bloat in what is meant to be a simple device for folks with diabetes. I cannot begin to imagine how other elderly patients learn how to use this product, which is essential for their health. And last but not least, we have environmental impact, as we all share this one earth on which we all live and play. Tree Hugger Cloth Pads is a Canadian small business selling cloth menstrual products. In addition to reducing waste as compared with using traditional disposable menstrual products, the company also plants a tree on your behalf in a developing country for each purchase of period underwear, cloth panty liner, or cloth pad. These 4 umbrellas of impact, individual, organizational, social, and environmental, are other dimensions of impact besides business impact that we have the power to deliver. Let's explore the framework of radical product thinking through which you can start to think about ethical product management. This philosophy rests on 3 core pillars. First, reframe your own mindset around your product as the vehicle for enacting the change you wish to bring about in our world. If I'm being frank, the supply chain industry isn't all that sexy. However, I've begun thinking about my company's product as the engine through which our users can complete their tasks more effectively and more efficiently, which improves their quality of life on the work front. Pretty inspiring, if you ask me. Then, begin with the end in mind and envision the change you want to bring about through your product before designing and building anything. I always return to the wicked problem that my company is trying to solve. This problem should feel personal to the people it affects. It should also be sizable, unaddressed or underaddressed, challenging, ill-defined, and monetizable. Ask questions to understand your opportunities, constraints, the customer, and business needs, and certainly strive towards answering these questions with your teams over time. Lastly, practice mindfulness and connect your day-to-day activities back to your big vision to create the change you want to see in our world. Before I start working on a task now, I always ask myself, why am I working on this? If I can't arrive at a satisfactory answer after asking myself why 5 times, I pose this question aloud to my team. The resulting conversations can be incredibly enlightening. To recap, the Radical Product Thinking Framework challenges you to reset your mindset, visualize the positive grand vision you want to bring to life in our world, and relate tactical execution activities back to your ambitious vision. Since I have started to remind myself and my teammates why it's important for all of us to make decisions about our product in good faith and in service of our customers and users, I have come to realize that consciously and intentionally thinking about ethics holistically throughout product development really isn't that much of a heavy lift. Empowered in thought by Radhika Dutt's Radical Product Thinking Framework, the next time you are with your product team, I challenge you to ask your teammates, how might we take small steps today to plant seeds that enact positive change in our world for future generations to come?
Thank you for that, Tiffany. That was an excellent reminder to us how having that product vision and relates back to like broader good in society and the ethics that come up as a part of that. So thank you for that speech. So I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of time for our evaluators to write some written remarks. So I'd also like to open it up for anyone in the audience here to ask any kind of questions they might have of Tiffany as a part of her speech. Oh, I think I see, maybe Lori, I see a hand.
Yeah. I'll kick us off. So Tiffany, as you try to balance your ethical product management, maybe with like features or visions of the leadership team, what are some pro tips you have for dealing with that balance of like your leadership team might be asking you to do something, but you don't fully believe in it? How would you go about handling that?
Thanks for the question, Lori. Great question. What's worked for me has been to resist the initial emotional reaction, do my best to push that down, and really stay curious and ask my leadership team why they're making the requests that they are making. And it's honestly the best if you have data or some quantitative or qualitative to be able to justify your stance on why you think their idea might not be the best, and also be able to find common ground in potentially current initiatives that are already in flight or future planned initiatives already on your roadmap, and really point back to them and let your leadership team know that you've already considered this, and this is how you and your team are planning on bringing that particular, moving that particular needle.
Thank you. And I think we probably have time for one more follow-up question. I think I see Kashmira's hand raised. Kashmir, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, that was a great speech, Tiffany. So my question is, after reading this book, what is one of the biggest change you made as an individual? It could be either at work or just a personal change.
For me, and this might just be my own self-righteousness speaking, I've always seen myself as someone who cares a lot about not just the work I'm doing, not just the quality of the work, but also making sure my work isn't damaging people in any way, even if it wasn't intention to do so. And I think bring that part of myself into my team and my organization as a whole, because we're still a very small startup, I think has been incredibly valuable, and not just in the impact that I'm able to bring to the table, but also showing others that it's time, the work culture is changing, and it's a very welcome change to be able to bring as much of your authentic self to the table as possible. Thank you for the question, Kashmira.
Thank you.
All right. So next, I'd like to move us on to our next speaker. Thank you so much, Tiffany, and all of the folks that asked some really awesome questions. I'd like to introduce to the stage Saritha. Saritha is a technology product management lead with over 15 years of experience building B2B enterprise software, and she's recently worked at Workday. Prior to that, she was at Oracle and PeopleSoft. She has a degree in CS and E and started a career as a developer and later transitioned into product management in 2008. Saritha lives in the Bay Area with her husband and recently became an empty nester. So that's meaning kids are in college. So congratulations. She's new to Toastmasters and recently joined our Women in Product Toastmasters organization. And today she's going to be giving us her first icebreaker speech to introduce herself. So welcome to the stage, Saritha.
Thank you, Jennifer. Just let me get my timer started. Okay. So if there is one thing I would tell my younger self, it would be stop playing small in this world. You are here for a reason, and that is to shine. Sadly enough, I had let one incident in my life rob me of my childhood experiences otherwise. And good news is that that was only short-lived until I was in 8th grade. Hi, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I'm Saritha Surapaneni. I'm a technology product manager by profession and an aspiring entrepreneur and a product career coach. Also, I'm a first-generation student. I was a first-generation student to attend college and get a degree in computer science and engineering. I was born in India, grew up in a very small town where most of the residents were either our distant relatives or our friends. My parents were into farming and therefore lived in a village, like a remote area, while me and my siblings lived with my grandma in a nearby town so that we could attend school. My parents would describe me as somebody who is like a loving kid, but extremely shy and timid. So much so when we had guests come over and it would be time for the kids to say hello, I would just go around my compound in circles just to avoid them. So when I turned 2, my family had decided that I was ready for school and they enrolled me in kindergarten. While I did fine through the early grades, my teacher in 2nd grade had decided that it was in my best interest that I be held back. In other words, I had to repeat my 2nd grade. And little did my family realize that I was not only shy, but quite sensitive and stubborn as well. After that incident, I disliked school and did not want to see my old classmates. In my view, I thought I was held back because I was not good enough. I felt diminished. Now, all this changed when I started high school. That was 8th grade in India. It was the first week of our school year, and our biology teacher, Miss Vijay Lakshmi, and had briefed us about what to expect in the school year and also about the upcoming monthly tests. She pointed at me and said, "See me after class." I was so nervous. She asked me why I did not seem excited and what was going on. I told her that I was not a smart kid and that I wouldn't be able to finish high school. She advised me not to worry about finishing high school, but rather just focus on the monthly tests. And she said she believed that I could. And that was a defining moment for me. I started believing in myself and that I could do it. Little did I realize that biology had become my new favorite subject, and that is all I was studying. Well, I scored 13 out of 15, and I was grinning when the teacher actually pointed out my name and mentioned about me. Now, that grinning did not stop for the rest of my high school. I had a newfound confidence that started impacting me in all areas of my life. I was chosen captain of the NCC, which is like a Girl Scouts here. And also, I was elected 2 years in a row as the captain of our school. So indeed, my confidence bug had bitten me, and it had carried me well through my college years. I'm forever grateful to Miss Vijay Lakshmi, our biology teacher. Now, being the school captain, I was expected to speak in front of large audience, and I was expected to speak with confidence and authority. I started participating in drama, speech and debate. I took the responsibility to become a decent speaker. Over the course, which was very unusual for a teenager, I was reading newspapers like aloud, and I had a newfound interest where I was watching TV news every day. This was not to just learn about the news events, but rather to watch the newsreaders speak. I wanted to pronounce words like them. I wanted to speak like them. I actually was transcribing the news and tape recording it as well. And my new favorite Sunday afternoon activity, was to enact like Miss Meenu Singh, who was my favorite news reader. Now, fast forward, I went to college and I went to complete my, get a degree in computer science and engineering, and landed a job in the top IT firm in India before I came to the US. And trust me, all that interest in the news watching and improving my vocabulary and everything helped me tremendously in building my confidence and engage with my US clients. In fact, I was chosen to lead customer discovery sessions on site and also interact with leadership. Now, all these experiences helped me smoothly transition into product management. Over the years, I started getting speaking engagements to present roadmaps at annual conferences and likewise. Now, communication, we know, is an essential skill in product management, and I constantly strive to become a better and an effective communicator. And I want to be the best version I can be. And I recently joined Toastmasters group, to improve my communication skill, both in public speaking and impromptu. Now, I feel so honored to share my personal story with you today, which I've never shared with my friends. I will always cherish my experiences I've had as a child and finding myself. My dream came true because I stopped playing small. I started believing in myself, and as I was meant to serve and shine. My fellow Toastmasters, my question to you today is, are you shining at what you do? Thank you.
Thank you, Saritha, for sharing that story with us. I think I myself, I'll just say it resonates with me because it is one of those things that, public speaking has always been very terribly difficult for me. And I appreciate that you shared your own story of personal setback and regaining your footing throughout your life. So I appreciate that too. I did have before I open it up to other people for questions or view, I'm going to go ahead and kickstart us off. One of the things that really resonated with me is finding that one person that really helped you to believe in yourself. Are there things or pieces of advice that you can pay forward to others, tangible things that you took away from that experience on how we can pay that confidence building skill into other people? Like, are there things specifically that you remember that helped you?
Yes, I think that incident that with my teacher, even recognizing me and calling me out and making me feel something, I think that was a defining moment for me. I'm the youngest of four. I was kind of, I just probably grew up. I think as a kid who lacked confidence and who had some setbacks, for an adult or somebody like, an adult recognizing you that you can do it, I think that is important. And I know we as parents or, elders, we just kind of ignore, but for a kid, that's a big deal. And I think as a kid, I don't know how to say this, enabling them to be bold, I think that was big. And even if you have your colleagues at work, let's say, those kids, I mean, the colleagues who are quiet, or maybe, for the ones who are loud, kind of give them a chance to speak. Sometimes you never know what they have in store. So give a chance for everybody to speak and represent themselves. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, those little tips. Does anybody else have any kind of questions they'd like to ask of Sarita? I think I see our vote counter. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
My
Sarita.
roles are so big, you can't see my name anymore. That was a great speech, Sarita. And I think at one point, as a young girl coming from, I could relate to that background where you see a lot of places where you are pulled back rather than boost, right? So being a mom of she's going to be a teenager soon. So what would you do, like, to boost that confidence? She's also shy, and she's also, I see the same qualities that you described about yourself. So what should I tell her? I don't want her to go 10 years and say, like, my younger self was like this. So do you have any tips that I can tell my daughter about how to overcome that shyness or timidness?
Absolutely. I experienced this when my daughter was 5 years old. Her dream was to become like Michelle Obama and be like the president, be the president. I never, the hope is a big thing when you're a kid. Don't have to say, oh, no, you can't become a president. Oh, you need to work towards it. Just give them the hope that they can become a president. First, believing that shift in mindset is needed. So never say like no to the kid, but just give them, acknowledge it, that they can be a president, and give them the ways that how they can get there, saying that you have to be a great speaker, you have to read about, you will be responsible for this, so it's good to focus on your this subjects. Giving that hope, I think, is a big thing. And don't use the negative words at all. That's my thing.
Great tip. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Sarita. I loved your speech. Let's go ahead and move on to table topics. So I'd like to introduce our table topics master of the day, Rosie Hernandez. Rosie, if you'd like to lead us through our table topics session, that would be great.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, sorry, a little sick. Yeah, I'd love to kick us off with the first question. I know we are short on participants today, but if you don't want to speak, just let me know. Send me a message and I won't call on you. But first off, let me call on Monique. Or sorry, I was supposed to say the question first and then pick the person, but Monique, I'll give you a heads up here. The question is, why should companies and product managers care about ethics when developing new products? And Monique, you have the mic.
Thank you, Rosie. So why should product managers care about ethics when building new products? I would say, I hope that is a given for everyone to know that, yes, please do that. The reason for that is it's so important to just kind of think about the impact of what you're doing and not just that one thing, like really thinking holistically, like what are the cascading effects of something that you're developing. And I think a way you can do that is really by getting a diverse set of feedback. From there, you can just learn other perspectives of, hey, did you think about this? This might be the impact. What other things are you missing here? So a lot of times when product managers don't get that feedback and just are like, this is a great idea, that's where we see things that just don't feel good for everyone. So I would definitely recommend everyone think first about being ethical with any new product that you create. Back to you, Rosie.
Yeah, I love that. It's something I've definitely been learning this past year, and I love the perspective that you gave, so thank you. The next question I have is, for some products to work, it's necessary to collect user data. In those cases, what do you ask yourself to ensure that you're responsibly collecting data and utilizing data? For this one, I will call on Ritu.
Thank you for that question, Table Topics Master. how would you go about collecting user data ethically? Is that a good way to summarize it?
Yeah, collecting and then utilizing ethically.
Yeah, interestingly, I recently moved to cybersecurity and I was in a different technology space for the last decade. And this is literally a month into cybersecurity. A lot that I've learned, a little rather, that I've learned in the last month and a half, I'd say, has been a focus on what does privacy mean? And when you start defining privacy, it has different gradients. Interestingly, it has different gradients as a company who's trying to secure user information and user private information. As an individual, you and me and every one of us, our gradient is probably the highest for ourselves. And as a company and a business product, the gradient varies somewhere between black and white. It's always in the gray. So how do you use user data and how do you kind of categorize it? It really depends on which space you're in. And I know it's not a good answer to say that, but that's just how the industry seems to be working. And I want to call that out with the hope that every one of us, when we understand how we are collecting user data, think about putting yourself in the shoes of the user. If your gradient itself is at the highest mark, then you are now considering doing this for tens and thousands of people. So it really stands upon you as an ethical product manager and as a responsible product manager to do that within the legal system, as well as not just collecting, but also understanding the end user and their lifestyle is going to be very similar to yours. So how do you actually secure that? And then how do you consume that? So there's no good answer, but I want to call out the fact that the industry seems to have a gradient, and hopefully we move into more of a binary solution that privacy is a fundamental necessity to a digital life today as we move forward to being connected more and more. And that would be the end of my answer. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
I love that response. I've been reading articles about how companies like Ring use our data and how it's necessary to collect that data so that they can continue to improve their AI. But it's not the same when maybe like a car company uses that same data, because then it's seen as infringing on certain things, but it's also useful. So very interesting the way that you talked about it and how every industry is different. The next question is very similar to one that Lori asked previously. If you notice that someone in your team is using user data in an unethical way, whether it's on purpose or by accident, how would you bring it up? How would you handle that situation? And for that one, I'll call on Irene.
Thank you, Table Topics Master Rosie. If I saw somebody using user feedback and data in an unethical way, I would certainly approach them. I believe in protecting the privacy of our customers unless we've told them otherwise. In this case, since you did say they're using it in an unethical way, I will assume that they're going outside of what we told our customers. They're sharing full names, they're using videos that we said we wouldn't use. I would immediately go to them and talk to them about this, let them know it has to stop. This is not what we agreed to with our customers when we gathered this data. We need to protect their privacy. Here's why I think it's important, and have that conversation. I have had to do this before in other roles where I would be in a study and say there would be observers that were in another room, but the moderator would say, nobody's watching, it's just us. And after that study, I pulled her aside and said, I don't agree with that. It's not just us. We know there's people in another room. And she said, I don't want to make them nervous. I said, I'd rather have them nervous and us be honest with them than them not know. In my mind, this is something that's very serious and has to be approached right away. That's how I would handle that situation. Thank you.
Awesome. Great response. Perfect. I do have another question. What steps do you take in your everyday work to make sure that your work does adhere by ethical standards, both at the company and just in general, ethical and moral standards? For this one, I'll call on Amy.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So what steps do you take in your what steps do you take to ensure your everyday work adheres to ethical standards?
So I guess in my everyday work, I try to just evaluate what what I'm doing, what's going on, what impact the decisions I have are going to make to anyone that could be impacted, and just trying to think through the impacts and what the effects is. I guess it's a very hard question to do. I feel like it's one of those things that I'd like to say I do we do very naturally, but I can't think of any like steps that I would take like very consciously. But I feel like as someone, like, I've learned a lot about ethics, and we had ethics classes in my master's program and stuff like that. And so it's one of the things that I feel like is pretty ingrained in me. And so I feel like I'm just naturally very conscious of sort of like ethics and things like that. I guess so. I think I naturally just, I don't know, I guess I feel like I just naturally try to think about the impact of people. I feel like I'm also very empathetic, so I'm very, very good at thinking about how this is going to affect other people, which I think as product managers, we all have to be very empathetic, but it is,
So many people live in Anderson.
It's something to always think about, is how we put how what we're doing is affecting others. Thank you.
Great response, Amy. I definitely think empathy goes a long way when thinking about ethics. Yeah, so this one's more of a hypothetical one to practice some of those interviewing skills. Let's pretend you're working with a user and they request a feature that crosses the ethical line. How would you respond to that? How would you handle that? And I think it comes up quite often when people want this, the stars in the sky, all that, and we have to bring them back. So again, the question is, let's pretend you're working with a user and they request a feature that perhaps crosses the ethical line. How would you handle that request from the user? And for that one, I will go with Kashmira.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. So I personally don't work with customers. I am more of an internal PM, so I'm going to put on and see if this applies internally, where what somebody is asking is unethical. But also, let me not go down that route, because this is more of a generic situation. I think if a user is asking for something that crosses the ethical boundaries, I would approach it from it's a delicate thing, because they're our paying customers and we don't want them to get on the defensive. So I would start asking questions as to why they want this feature, what impact they are expecting to have from it, and kind of push them towards recognizing that they're crossing an ethical boundary. And if they already know that and they're still willing to cross it, they don't care, it's all about the money for them, then I would just openly tell them that this is not what our company does, and we either need to come to a compromise and do something that's within the limits, or just outright say no. Thank you.
Great response. I really like how you got back to what the needs are, what the impact of the request is. I think that's a really good way to, what's the word? disarm some of those, negative feedback or negative resentments that they might have. So love that response. Something I'll keep in mind for myself as well. I have another question. So what KPIs or metrics do you or your team use to ensure that products are ethically being used? For this one, I will pass it to Marguerite.
Thank you. Rosie, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so what KPIs or metrics do you use or your team uses to ensure that products are, adhering to ethical standards?
This is an interesting question because I'm not sure if I've ever been in this situation specifically where I've had to measure. I can imagine hypothetical situations where, for example, if you had a social media app or video, or you own video games, or even like something like a video streaming platform that, there's only so many continuous hours of content participation that someone should be participating in. If they're playing video games nonstop for 24 hours, it might not be healthy for them. So if I were in that kind of industry, I would certainly be measuring time spent, continuous time spent. Also, gambling, I think, is another industry where this is a big consideration. How often are people gambling? How much are they losing? This is not gambling, but I think this came up with the Robinhood app fairly recently. So if I were using a product like that or owned a product like that, I would definitely have those sort of KPI, metrics in mind to measure, to make sure my customers are interacting healthily with the product. In the past, I have measured sort of ethics of the product just with customer feedback, how the product made them feel, and actually have made changes based on some customer feedback. It was a fashion-related product, a styling-related product, and we wanted to make sure that people felt empowered by styling recommendations versus, we didn't want them to feel like, oh, they had things to correct about their bodies, for example. Okay, so that's how I think about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the 2 points that you touched on, like social media, video watching, and then gaming or casino. I was reading an article to prepare for these table topics questions, and those 2 sectors came up, which I really hadn't thought about. You think of the TikTok and how much time people spend on there, and is it like ethical to put something like that in front of them? But at the same time, it's like a company, it's a business. So very interesting that you brought up those 2 industries. And then I have one last question. What do you do or say when you're trying to build trust with users to ensure that they know and have trust in you that your product adheres to all ethical standards? And then again, if you haven't worked with users, mold it to how you see fit. For this one, I'll ask Srimai.
Yeah, thank you, Rosie. First of all, sorry, everybody. I am a little late. I had a situation about where I was stuck, so I'm sorry about that. And regarding the question, Rosie, if you can repeat it one more time, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so how do you build trust with users and make them feel comfortable enough that they know that your product adheres to ethical standards?
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to imagine a hypothetical situation as well regarding this, because I've not run into any such situation. So if I were to build some trust with my customers, I think one way to do that, to assure them that we are building it ethically, would be to probably get some certifications from the industry standard or somebody or have blogs and posts on the website to say what we are actually like, put it out there. What are the standards? What are the ethics that we consider while doing this? And put up a forum where they can especially ask questions regarding this. So I think certifications is one thing I would go with to assure them that we follow the standard practices. And second one, we are second one is to come up with blog articles and posts to explain them what goes into what standards go into building the products, and also have a forum for them to question directly if they have any questions.
I like that, using historical data or historical presence online. Perfect. So that was my last question. So now if we can all vote on who you want to choose for the best table topics response, send those over to Sirisha. She just posted the speaker, so send her over that number or that name, and then she'll calculate those for the end. Perfect. And then back to, I think, the Toastmaster of the day.
Yeah, those were really great and thought-provoking questions. Thank you, Rosie, for putting in the time and the effort to come up with questions that are really touch at the heart of what is compliance and what are ethics and compliance and things of that nature. How does that resonate within the product management community as we come up with new feature functionality or even work with our customers? So thank you for those questions. Next, I'd like to turn us over to general evaluation time. So our general evaluator today, if we could, or I'm sorry, I messed up. No, it is just the general evaluator, Marguerite, if you could take us away in terms of going through our evaluations and our evaluation team.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So we'll start off the evaluation portion of the meeting with Rishu, who will be evaluating Tiffany's speech.
Thank you, General Evaluator. And now to Tiffany. I first want to start off with the fact that it was so clear that you had a brilliant framework for delivering your message today, which I personally enjoyed, and I appreciate as a product manager who puts in thought in terms of how do you want to deliver a message. There are so many ways, and to pick one framework and say, this is how I want the delivery tone and the flow to look like. In fact, it was so clear and prevalent that I even made notes. There was a great introduction and emphasis on the topic and what you were going to focus on as part of your speech today, which was a great way to start. The second one, you focused on the why. Every PM wants to hear, why are we listening to what we're listening to? So that was great. You made clear 4 points in distinction in terms of why this topic, why is it important to discuss it? Why are you trying to deliver it? Why does this impact? Why, and also what is the whole premise of why it impacts your life and your users or your product's life? That was great. The third part of that framework was how, and you kind of delivered the how as part of highlights from a specific book, the Radical Product Thinking's book that you were referencing. So it was clear. I just wanted to call out that framework. I appreciated that. Now to your delivery, you had great tone. You made good emphasis in places where you wanted to pause and deliver in terms of, okay, I noted 2 phrases. One, you said practice what you preach, of course, something that we all want to take away in terms of like a quick takeaway. The second one was the small steps to enact positive change to bring out the impact that you want to see in the world. So these were 2 things that stuck in my head. So great on that. The third good thing that I also want to highlight is your messaging was serious and you wanted to keep the delivery serious. And I know you wanted to understand if your theme and your delivery were going to fit. And I personally thought that it did. So great job on those three. Now I do want to call out some things that you could perhaps do a little differently with, and these are my personal opinions. The first one, I felt your speech could have benefited from some of your own personal experiences. You give examples. One great example that you did connect with was your dad's diabetes measurement machine or device that you recently bought, and how it was just flabbergasting in terms of not really delivering what it does well. More of that would have been wonderful even in the how section. So there was one example in the why section, some of that in the how section. So we are able to connect to how you have understood this framework that you've built for yourself, or rather whys of it, and then how you see that impacting your own personal life or your user's life. So personal experiences, I just want to finish off with the last one the last takeaway is, I did feel like your speech was packed. It was packed with a lot of information, and it's okay to talk about two things, like 2 points in why and 2 points in how, and just one topic, and spending more time on that so that we understand exactly what you're trying to convey. And it's a good experience. It's almost like storytelling. So yeah, it's okay to make it less dense and use some personal experiences. That was it. So good job, Tiffany. I loved it.
Thank
Back
you so
to
much,
you,
Rishi.
Nilufer.
Thank you, Rishu. That thoughtful evaluation. Now move on to our second one from Monique, evaluating surface speech.
Thank you, Marguerite. Let's see. I'm looking for you, Sarita. Oh, I'm like, where'd you go? Okay, there you are. Sarita, first off, congratulations on completing your icebreaker speech. You have this comfortable presence that makes you so relatable and makes me eager to hear what you will say next. I first appreciate how much you shared this personal story that helped us learn a lot about you. You threw in a little nuggets of information, like a second grader being sensitive and stubborn, that I felt really painted this vivid picture of your life and helped us just kind of really get into your speech. When you first started, I really loved the opening, and you gave this advice to your younger self, and then chronologically went through your life experiences that have made you who you are today. The structure of your speech made it very easy to follow. And like, I especially liked hearing about your 8th grade biology teacher that believed in you and was a turning point in your life. Teachers can have such a powerful influence, and I enjoyed how it was part of the story you shared. As far as one thing to work on, and this is something that I struggle with, I could kind of see that you're making hand gestures, but they were like below the frame. So for next time, just kind of keep an eye out for bringing those up into the frame of the video, because it would help emphasize the different points of your speech. And I could kind of see it happening, but for next time, just making sure the camera is still something we're still learning how to work with, but bringing that up will just add even more to your speech. So overall, just wonderful job today. Your speech was so inspiring, and I love the takeaway you had at the end of, are you shining at what you do? Resonated so much with me. Just hearing your story, reflecting on kind of my life story as well. I just really appreciated that. So thank you again for sharing today, and I look forward to hearing more speeches from you. Thank you, Sarita.
Thank you, Monique. It was great advice, and And I think I got the hand gestures I was not doing. Yeah, no, thank you.
You're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can have our timers report from Lori.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So I wrote down everyone's time on the time log for once instead of my notebook, so we can get started. So our first speaker, Tiffany, you were within time. You were at 6 minutes and 22 seconds. Saritha, you were just a little bit over on your icebreaker speech at 6 minutes and 9 seconds, but you'll be great with your next speech since it will be at the 6 to 7 minute or 5 to 7 minute mark. So excellent job. Richu, for your evaluation, you were over at 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Monique, your evaluation was a little short at 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And then for our table topics round, Monique, you were at 1 minute and 12 seconds within time. Richu, you were a little bit over as well at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Irene at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Amy, 1 minute 45. Kashmira, 1 minute, 28 seconds. Marguerite, 2 minutes on the dot. And Shermai at 1 minute and 40 seconds. So all of those were also in time. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lori. Next up, Kashmira, can you give the all counters report?
Sure. I have Rosie with 5+ ums, 2 so's. I have Jennifer with 1 3 ums, Tiffany with 1 and 1 repeat. Richu with 5+ ums, 3 so's, and she kind of likes to say kind of like I do, and you know. Monique is 3 uhs, 2 ums, 3 so's, 1 like. Amy has 5+ ums, 2 so's, 1 repeat, and 3 others. It was a mix of others. Saritha had 5+ uhs, 5+ ums, 3 so's, 5+ likes, 2 repeats, and among the other, I noted down a lot of nows. So a lot of sentences that started with now I had this, now I had that, now this happened. So that's something to look out for. Lori, 1 2 so's, 1 other. Sarisha, 1 5+ ums, 1 3 so's, 2 likes. Marguerite, 3 uhs and 3 ums, 2 likes and 4 others. Srimai had a bunch of uhs, 1 and 1 so. And I had a whole lot, but nobody was counting. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashmira. And next up we have Sarisha with your grammarian report.
Thanks, Margaret. One thing I noticed, the toughest job of being grammarian is trying to see who's using the word of the day, because these are all great speeches and I was so engrossed in listening to everybody. One thing, I'll start with the order that people speak. So Tiffany, great speech. I loved when you said, practice mindfulness, great use of words like enlightenment. And again, you planted seed in me, which I really like the way you use the analogies here and there. So I loved it. And when it came to Saritha's icebreaker, I'm sorry, I know that Tiffany used the word of the day, but Saritha, I was so involved in your story that I really didn't pay attention whether you used the word responsible in your speech. But great speech. I just wanted to ask one thing is, you started with a quote. Was it stopping or stopping? I didn't quite get that. So if you can, give me the quote that you started your speech with, then it would be awesome. I would like to know. And then coming to table topics and other evaluations, I haven't seen any misuse of grammar. Everything looked fantastic. I loved Richu's using her words like flabbergasting. I wrote some big words like enlightenment, empowerment. So those are all the words that we use in our club, but I just made a note of all the great words and vocabulary that she used. And yeah, overall, I think it's everything looks fine to me. Thank you. Over to you, Margaret. Oh, stop playing small. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just like, when you went with the quote, I felt like you said it so fast I couldn't catch it. So thank you.
Thank you, Shirisha. And just final reminder to everyone to send their votes for best table topic speech to Shirisha. That the winner will be read out. After I finish.
I got some votes. So Margaret, do I announce now or shall we wait until everybody?
I'm going to give my general evaluation and then you can announce the winner after that. Just wanted to give people one more try or, chance if they hadn't voted yet. So in my role as general evaluator, I'll just go give my thoughts on the meeting today. I mean, our meetings generally run very smoothly, and I think they ran smoothly, or this one ran smoothly again. We just had, maybe we started at 1 or 2 minutes late, but that's the only thing I can think. Oh, and the other thing is I don't think there was a pre-meeting invite sent out, which I think I was supposed to do. So I will figure out how to do that before the next meeting. So sorry about that. Otherwise, we had all of our roles confirmed. Our Toastmaster, Jennifer, was excellent, didn't skip a beat, give a strong introduction to the meeting topic, and move everything along. And I just want to give a shout out to Shirisha for stepping up and taking a second meeting role at the very last minute. We appreciate that. So we had all of our roles filled today. And another, great round of inspiring speeches. I love, Sarita, I love your speech about, overcoming the challenges you overcame. But I really particularly love the advice you gave about sort of inspiring, younger women, your daughter, and Teresa's daughter. So that was awesome to hear. And I'll remember that for when I'm talking to my niece. And Tiffany as well is also just great to see. Like I just feel older in product management. So if this is annoying, just let me know. But like you're newer in product management, it's just great to see like newer, younger product managers caring so much about ethics. So it's just nice to see. And obviously the table topics were really relevant, thought-provoking, and all the responses were also really interesting, and I learned something from everyone. We also got our guests engaged, which was great. So I think another pretty good meeting on the books for us, which I think we should, always pat ourselves on the back when we have a chance. So I think that completes my evaluation for today. So Sarisha, can you provide the winner for the table topics?
Sure, thanks, Margaret. So the winner, Richu is not here, but she got most of the votes. And then the follow up was Monique. And she got the next second prize. and Irene and Monique, they have same number of votes, but Richu took the part.
Congratulations to Richu and Monique and Irene.
All right. So thank you for that evaluation team and keeping track of all of the going-ons and giving us all that feedback throughout the meeting and keeping tabs on all of us. So next, I'd like to just wrap it up. We all have our VPE, if you don't mind, come up and just briefly wrap us up and tee us off for the next meeting.
Sure.
You're doubling
everyone-
up on so many things, Marguerite.
Yes, I'm the VP, in case I don't think I mentioned that earlier.
Brand new, so doing fabulous.
New VP. So if for our upcoming meetings, we actually do have a lot of openings for speeches and roles for the next 2 meetings. So this is the list. This is the meeting roles list, and we've got, you can see the topics for the upcoming meetings. So please sign up for roles. I'll just put the sign up in the chat right now. So please, everyone, sign up for roles. And I know there are a couple of people who have questions about pathways, or I've received via email, so I'll follow up with you. Kashmir, did you have a question?
Yeah, I actually signed up for a speech, but in August, but I'm not going to be able to make it. So how do I communicate that?
Yeah, I know now.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. I've been checking the YouTube channel. Do we update that every week after every meeting, or I just wanted to go back and take a look at some of the past meetings? And I think the last one was from June.
Yes, I believe, yeah, we will have the, all the meetings that were recorded will be uploaded.
Okay, thank you.
And sorry, Tiffany, did you want to speak a little bit any more about the survey?
I'll send out a couple more details via email about the annual business meeting survey. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone look out for that email and give your input through the survey. I think that's it for now. I will return control of the meeting to our Sergeant at Arms.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for a super fun meeting. I hope you all had a good time and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Great job, Jennifer and everybody.
Thank you. Great seeing you all again. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sunday. Thank you.
Happy
Take care,
Sunday.
everyone.